Well, a compromise possibly in the works on the so-called fiscal cliff, as several top Republicans say that they would be, under certain circumstances, willing to break a long-standing pledge on raising taxes. The move comes ahead of a second meeting expected this week with the leaders from both sides and potentially President Obama as well in that meeting. So Democrats have suggested a little bit over the weekend that they might be willing to concede on several key issues in return for higher taxes or revenue. Watch those words, though. Listen to this.
Let's make sure that revenue is an integral part of deficit reduction. And yes, from my side of the table, bring entitlement reform into the conversation. Social Security, set aside, doesn't add to the deficit. But when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid, protect the integrity of the program, but give it solvency for more and more years.
Alabama Republican Jeff Sessions is the ranking member on the Senate Budget Committee. Senator Sessions, good morning. Good to have you here today.
Martha, thank you.
You know, a lot of talk this morning after these Sunday shows and watching both sides talk about this fiscal cliff, about who seems to be moving and in what direction. Now, what are you hearing? You know, what are you hearing from Lindsey Graham, who says that he's, quote, willing to break that pledge on taxes under certain circumstances? What are they really saying?
I'm not sure what they're saying. There's a lot of this talk going on. I don't know who is speaking for the Republican Party, the House of Representatives, where you have a substantial Republican majority. But the truth is that this country does not need to go through this fiscal cliff, which is fundamentally a huge tax increase and very little spending cuts. And so we're facing this huge automatic tax increase that needs to be changed. And it's going to take all of us working together, because it would damage this economy if we have this kind of huge tax increase. But our Democratic colleagues, all they want to talk about is more taxes, more revenue.
But isn't...
They were not telling us where the money is going. They're not assuring us that the money is going to be used to pay down the debt like it's suggested. So we need to see those numbers, what they plans, before any discussion is appropriate, it seems to me.
You know, I mean, let's take it from both sides. If you look at the Republican side, basically they want to see cuts in spending and real entitlement reform and perhaps revenue that comes from the relief of some loopholes that are out there. So that, you know, Bob Corker, I know, has suggested that maybe there be a $50,000 cap on the amount of deductions that you can take in your taxes. So Republicans want to get there that way, not by raising any rates, correct? And does that stand steady, that
I think
thought?
That's a lot of where a lot of our members are, that you can simplify this tax code, make it more flat, more like a flat tax, eliminate all kinds of loopholes and gimmicks, and actually increase revenue without raising the top marginal rate, which most economists say would hurt this economy if we were to do it. We need to create growth, which creates jobs, not damaging growth by huge tax increases.
Gotcha.
But what I would like to...
Go ahead.
Well, what I'm concerned about is where this money would be going. They say it's for deficit reduction, but the president's budget that he submitted to us in January would increase spending another $1.4 trillion, whereas he's proposing now, I think, $1.6 trillion in new taxes.
Right.
So if our taxes are just to spend for more spending, I think the American people need to say no.
Yeah.
You need to bring your house under control before we send you another dime.
Let's listen to Senator Carl Levin, because we're all sort of looking for words in the tea leaves here that give us an indication of where the consensus might come from. Here's what he said.
They have to go up either real tax rates or effective tax rates. There's ways of doing that. Secondly, though, we've got to close some significant loopholes.
All right, so he's saying get rid of loopholes and raise the effective rate. Now, when I hear him say raise the effective rate, that sounds like he could be talking about revenue that would be gained by changing the tax system a little bit. Do you hear some sort of possible groundwork in there?
Well, yes. I think we are. That's the kind of talk we've got to have. But really, really importantly, Martha, is there been any talk about reducing spending? Any real serious discussion about that? And what will this new revenue be used for? So I have objected to this idea that we're going to have some secret negotiations going on right now, which I and 90+% of our members of Congress are not a part of, and it's going to be plopped down the right before Christmas Day, and we're going to be demanded to vote for it. The American people need to see Congress function. They need to hold us responsible. They need to see this plan well in advance of the time it's voted on. This idea of holding these things off till the last crisis minute is wrong.
I hear what you're saying.
And American people need to speak out on that.
I hear what you're saying. And there's a lot of talk that's being put out there about the pledge that was signed, the Grover Norquist orchestrated pledge that was signed by so many members to not raise taxes under any circumstances. Did you sign that? And how do you feel about it now?
Well, I signed it, and I absolutely believe we don't have to raise taxes now. We can get this country's spending under control through frugal management and good, effective management of this out-of-control government. But we've got to deal with the crisis we face. We've got to deal with the political reality of the president's victory. So we'll wrestle with all of that as we go forward. But I want to see and insist that this money be used to reduce deficit if it is any new revenue coming in.
I want to ask you this one more time. When you look at the statements by Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Saxby Chambliss, who basically said, you know, I'm willing to revisit the tax pledge, but only if we get real commensurate spending cuts. What do you think about that posture from them?
Well, Lindsey's he's a member of the Budget Committee, which I'm ranking Republican on, and Lindsey has said that before. This isn't really new. He truly believes, and he's correct, if we don't alter the course of our surging entitlements, those programs are not sustainable. So he's conditioning any tax increase on fixing these programs, Social Security and Medicare particularly, and making sure that they're sound for the future. So that's Lindsey's position, and he's talked about accepting revenue to accomplish that goal, but only if that goal is accomplished with the new revenue.
It's interesting. I think the talk of compromise may in some ways be to sort of present that to the American people so that when they go into that room, if they come out with nothing, they'll all be held accountable. Thank you so much. It's always good to have you, Senator Sessions. Good luck to you all.
Thank you. Thank you.